Alright class, we have another screencast on lesson 9.5 here, and I've went ahead and got the worksheet up, and then I got some space where we're going to try and use to work some of these problems. And I've also got our set of steps to help us get guided to the answer, and it's these three steps that are really going to be everything for you and that you really have to get down. So notice that what's written in black matches what's written in black here, and then what's written in red is matched what's written in red so far, but I didn't go any further than this because this is where the explanation really needs to happen. So we listed the factors of the first and last terms. Here's the first term and its factors. X times x is the only way to multiply and make x squared. Then for the number 7, it was 1 times 7 that would multiply to make 7, and that's the only way to do that. Now the third step is kind of where it gets difficult. We need to try options with multiple factors, pairing the biggest options first to find the right combination. And what I mean by the right combination is that two things happen. Number one, they multiply to make last term, and part two is they add to make middle term. And I'm sorry this thing is kind of sloppy to write on, but there's not much better way to do that and be able to color code and show all these options. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with what goes in here to FOIL, and we're going to get this answer when we multiply, and this answer comes by adding these together. Okay? So we listed the factors, we made our parentheses, and we placed for sure factors that work. Because these are my only options for my factors here, I know that one goes there and I know that one goes there, and since they're the same thing, I can go ahead and fill those in. Those are for sure the only ones that work. Now 1 and 7 are my only factors that work to make 7, so I know that they are the numbers that are going to go here and here, and since they're multiplying with the same number, the actual order of those numbers doesn't matter either. So right now I don't have any other options for there to be even a third step that works. Now, the last thing that we need to determine is going to be the sign that goes in the middle of these. Since we're multiplying to make a positive number, the ways to do that are a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. And we have to add to make a positive number, and there's only really two ways to do that, and that would be to add a positive with a positive, or you can add a bigger positive with a smaller negative. And since this positive with a negative can't be a combination from what we're multiplying, we know that the signs have to go positive, positive. And hopefully that'll make some more sense as this goes. So your answer for the first one is x plus 1 times x plus 7. And that is the factored binomial pair for this trinomial. Okay? So to check this, we're going to use FOIL. Which is first, outside, inside, last. So that would be x times x, which is x squared. And you don't have to do this for every problem, especially once you get good, but it is a good idea and a good way to make sure that you got the right answer. X times 7 is the outside, so that's 7x. 1 times x is the inside, so that's plus 1x. And then the last terms are 1 times 7, and those make positive 7. Once we get to this point, we don't have our trinomial yet because we have like terms to pair up, 7x and 1x. they make 8x. Notice because they make 8x, that is the trinomial we started with, which does prove this is my answer. Okay? So if we jump over to number 7, we have room to work number 7, so let's work that one. I'm going to list the factors of a squared. A times a, that's the only way to make that happen. Now 36 has 1 times 36, it has 2 times 18, it has 3 times 12, and it also has 4 times 9. There is no 5, but there is also 6 times 6. So we can see that there's only one option here, but over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. Okay? So we're going to have to do some juggling with that third step because we have multiple options. Okay? So we'll go into step 2 now that we've got our factors listed. We need our set of parentheses, and after our set of parentheses we need to place any for sure factors at work. Because there is only one option here, those are for sure factors that work. So we'll go ahead and put A and A in there. Now it's time to kind of do that game where we multiply and we add. And in this case, we're multiplying to make 36. And remember, these are the only ways to do that, so we can only use this pairing of numbers right through here. These 5 options there. And the option we're looking for will not only multiply to make 36, but it will also add to make 13. So which of these numbers multiplies to make 36, but if we added them together they would make 13? These ones, if we added them, would be 38. Or sorry, 37. Don't know what my brain's thinking there. These ones would be 20. These ones would be 15. These ones would be 13. These ones would be 12. So we see that the correct pairing that adds to make 13 would be 4 and 9, and so that is going to be what goes in on that problem. Now, because we're multiplying to make it positive, remember the way to do that would be positive times a positive or negative times a negative, and the way to add to make it positive would be a positive with a positive or a bigger positive with a smaller negative number. So in this case, since we have to have a positive positive and a positive positive, those are the signs that are going to go with. And this would be the answer and the result to that trinomial when we factor it. Okay? So let's look at some that have something different than a positive positive. For example, number 5, m times m. 24 is 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. You see we have multiple options here once again, but only one option here. So we'll take our one option and we'll go ahead and make our parentheses. We'll place our one option in the front, and now we need to determine what our options with multiple factors is how it's going to work. Alright, so we're trying them by finding the right combination, multiplying to make this. We know these are the only ways to do that because we listed all of them already. After we multiply to make that, we have to add to make negative 10 this time. Now if I'm making a negative, that's going to be a negative times a negative added with another negative, or it's got to be a bigger negative number with a smaller positive number when we add. When we multiply these numbers, we got to make a positive, so that's a negative with a negative or a positive with a positive. And the right combination that each of these have is the negative and negative and negative and negative. So we're going to take our negative signs, and we know that they're going to go in there. And after those ones go in there, we're going to need the combination that adds to make negative 10. And in that situation, these would make 25, these would make 14, these would make 11, these would make 10, So we know that the 4 and the 6 is the proper pairing here, and there is our answer. Okay? Now we need to take a look at one that uses some more negatives. Here's the factors. W times W. Here's your factors here. 1 times 13. Now you notice once again we're back to one that only has one option for each. So I already know what goes up front. It's this option. And I already know what goes in back. It's this option. The last thing that I need to figure out are my sign combinations. So I'm multiplying to make negative 13. That would mean that this could be negative, and if the 1 is negative, then the 13 would have to be positive. Or if the 1 was positive, the 13 would have to go negative. Now, whatever combination I choose, I have to add them to make negative 12. So if I'm adding to make a negative number, remember that happens by a negative with another negative, or it happens with a bigger negative with a smaller positive number. And so the combination that works here is the negative-positive combination, and we know that the negative has to be with the bigger number, so this will go negative, this will go positive, and that is your result for that trinomial. When you get to the bottom on these guys, since they're set equal to 0, you'll take this first one and solve that equation. Take the second one, set that equal to 0, and solve that equation. That's all the time we have for this screencast. Good luck on 9.5. And if you need questions, see me before or after school, or send an email always.